When love left and grief arrived, God became my anchor. I never thought I'd be one of those people who say, my life changed overnight. But that's exactly what happened. One moment, I thought I had everything I needed: love, plans, a future I could almost touch. And then, in a heartbeat, it was gone. Love walked out the door, grief moved in, and I was left gasping for air in the wreckage. But this isn't just a story of loss. It's the story of how, in the middle of my drowning, God became my anchor. It started slowly, like a storm building on the horizon. My relationship, the one I had poured so much of myself into, had cracks I pretended not to see. We smiled in pictures, laughed at dinners, and said the right words to family and friends. But behind closed doors, there was distance, unspoken words, late-night silences, moments where love felt like it was slipping through my fingers. I told myself it was just a rough patch, that all relationships went through ups and downs. But deep down, I was terrified. I could feel love slipping away, and no matter how tightly I tried to hold on, it kept drifting further from me. Then came the day it all shattered. I'll never forget the look in their eyes when they told me it was over. No yelling, no dramatic fight, just quiet words that cut deeper than any scream could have. I don't love you anymore. I remember everything in the room blurring, as though the world had tilted and I was falling. My chest tightened, my breath came in shallow gasps, and I felt like I was suffocating. Love had left me, just like that, and in its place came grief, raw, merciless, uninvited grief that made every breath feel like a battle. The first nights were unbearable. I'd lie awake in bed, clutching the pillow where they once slept, and cry until my body ached. Every memory replayed like a cruel movie. The laughter, the plans we made, the whispered promises of forever. My home felt like a graveyard of what once was. Every corner haunted by the ghost of a love that no longer lived there. I stopped eating. I stopped answering calls. My friends knocked on the door, but I couldn't bring myself to open it. I was drowning, and I didn't even want to be saved. Grief consumed me, and I let it. One night, I broke completely. I sat on the bathroom floor, knees pulled to my chest, sobbing until I couldn't make a sound anymore. In that silence, I whispered words I hadn't said in years. God, are you there? I didn't know why I said it. Maybe because I had nothing left. Maybe because grief strips you down to the core of your being, and all that's left is a desperate cry for something bigger than yourself. And in that moment, I didn't hear a voice or see a miracle, but I felt something, a stillness, a presence, a reminder that I wasn't completely alone. For the first time since love left, I felt like I could breathe again. The next morning, I woke up different. My circumstances hadn't changed. My bed was still empty. My heart still ached. But there was a tiny flicker of hope inside me. And that flicker was enough to get me out of bed, to open the curtains, to let a sliver of sunlight in. I began talking to God every day, not with fancy prayers, just raw honesty. Some days I was angry. Some days I was broken. Some days all I could say was, help me. But the more I spoke, the more I felt heard. I opened the Bible again, desperate for comfort. And there it was, waiting for me. Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. 1 Peter 5, verse 7. That verse became my lifeline. Healing was not a straight line. Some mornings I woke up feeling stronger, ready to face the world. Other days, the grief came back like a tidal wave, pulling me under without warning. But each time I thought I'd drown again, God anchored me. Through prayer, through scripture, through the unexpected kindness of others. Friends started showing up again, not with perfect words, but with presence. A meal dropped off at my door. A late-night text that simply said, I'm here. I began to see God's love in those small gestures. It was as if he was whispering, see, I haven't forgotten you. Over time, I learned that grief isn't something you just get over. It's something you carry differently as you heal. Love had left, yes, but in its absence, I found a deeper love, a love that didn't leave when things got hard. God's love. There were nights when I still cried myself to sleep, but even in those tears, I knew I wasn't alone anymore. When the waves of grief rose, He was my anchor, steady and unshakable. Months later, I began to feel like myself again. I could laugh without faking it. I could look at old photos without breaking down. I could make plans for the future without fear. The scar remained, but it no longer defined me. Looking back, I realized something profound. Losing love didn't destroy me. It revealed the one love that could never be lost. People may leave, hearts may break, but God's love is constant, eternal, unshakable. That truth became my foundation. Today, I share my story not to dwell on the pain, but to testify to the healing. If you're in the middle of heartbreak, if grief has become your unwelcome companion, I want you to know this: you are not alone. The same God who carried me will carry you. He will be your anchor when the storms rage, your peace when the tears fall, your strength when you can't take another step. The day love left and grief arrived, I thought my life was over. But it was really the beginning of a new chapter, one anchored in something stronger than human love, something eternal. God didn't just help me survive my heartbreak. He transformed it into a testimony of His faithfulness. So if you're reading this right now, whisper that prayer I once did: God, are you there? And let Him show you that He is. Always, folded hands if this story touched your heart. Share it with someone who may need hope today. And don't forget to follow for more stories of faith, healing, and God's unshakable love.